G'day, welcome to another episode of Door Number C. I'm your host Caleb, and today we're going to be looking into the musical The Book of Mormon. It's offensive, profane, blasphemous, outrageous, perverse, depraved, the funniest musical of all time, scoring 9 Tonys and $500 million in revenue under 10 years. Who am I to argue with that? Look, it's Trey Parker and Matt Stone, so I already know that I already love it. Or so I thought. I've seen the recording of the play, I've played a selection of the soundtrack religiously, and even scrounged up enough money to go see the production in person. I've read an absolute metric fuck ton of reviews, and across the board, most critics just sing its praises. They acknowledge the offences, but it's dismissed due to the beauty of the costumes and sets, the music, and the quality of the actors. A minority of critics, however, think that it's shit because the production is racist. So this is not going to be so much of a review as a look behind the jokes that are as divided as the groups they represent. Okay, so starting off, the Mormon Church put $85,000 in to help promote this musical, and they saw a return on their investment, as Mormon recruitment actually increased after the show ran. Publicity aside, this figure demonstrates that good satire can often soften a normative presumption of a historically contentious group. Like, the play never mentions the proliferation of child brides or multiple wives, the importance of traditional gender roles within Mormon culture, or even them as a politically active and conservative group in America. There's a quick joke about God changing his mind about black people in the 70s, but generally, the Mormons are portrayed as kind, mild-mannered, a bit repressed, good, young-hearted men. After the musical hit the stage and became an instant hit, Mormonism increased. But on the other hand, Uganda, where the entire play is set, saw a decrease of tourism the year following the musical's release. So it was not privy to the success stories like Maya Bay from the beach. Mumbai slum tours are actually now a thing thanks to Slumdog Millionaire. Anak Castle from Harry Potter is a big thing. And New Zealand has Hobbiton now because of tourists. Even the international success of Gangnam Style is attributed to a spike in South Korean tourism following the song's viral release. I'm not saying that the Book of Mormon is solely responsible for Uganda's slump in tourism, just that the musical didn't do them any favours. I haven't been able to find any evidence that Parker and Stone collaborated with any Ugandans during the pre-production on the script, the music, the costume designs. Kind of looks like they're leaning towards cashing in on appropriation rather than authenticity. So while Parker and Stone, they've always set out to get everyone, it is clear that the Ugandans are not painted with the same brush as the Mormons. Such as, the local doctor has maggots in his scrotum, women are forced to be circumcised, and it's a literal hell where 80% of the population with AIDS take to raping virgins, to the extent that the only virgins that are left are babies. And they too are raped. All of which induced a chorus of laughter from the audience. It sounds as if it's taken to the extreme for comedic value, but the truth is not as far removed as the satire presents itself as. Nearly 80% of Ugandans have been in contact with the AIDS virus. This is the figure of individuals that undergo the antiretroviral treatment. And the sad truth is that sexual abuse and the transmission of STDs is still rising, with young women disproportionately affected. This is not the first time that Parker and Stone have exaggerated AIDS for satirical comedy, but this is a direct, honest figure used for a joke that punches down, not something as ridiculous as,
"Hey, they just found the cure for AIDS! You just have to inject yourself with all your cash! Woohoo!"
In 2010, Uganda passed the Prohibition of Female Genital Mutilation Act, which makes it illegal for women to undergo circumcision. Yet, in many places it is still mandatory in their culture, relating to one's access to employment, marriage, or even prohibiting them from gathering cow dung to insulate their houses with. With an estimated 200 million women that have undergone the cut in 30 countries, it's hardly the material for satire by the hands of 2 white male Americans. Maybe that's where I'm wrong, because the show's accolades say otherwise. General Buttfuck Naked is based off the warlord Kony, leader of the Lord's Resistance Army guerrilla group, and is said to have raped, mutilated, and murdered tens of thousands of innocent civilians, abducted more than 30,000 children, and displaced over 2 million people during his 30-year reign. All in the name of purification and to create a state based on his interpretation of the Ten Commandments. But the warlord in the play poses no real threat and is overthrown without the heroes even breaking a sweat. The way that Parker and Stone satirized Kim Jong-il in Team America, or Satan and Saddam Hussein in Southpark, was really funny and ridiculous.
That is interesting. Let's fuck.
Saddam, no, I'm trying to have a nice conversation with you.
But the way that Joseph Kony was represented as General Buttfuck Naked was just a watered-down generic version of an African warlord. So the objective in the play was not overcoming the physical conflict, the geography, or characters posed, but in getting the Ugandans baptized. And they did so with promises of curing their AIDS by fucking frogs instead of babies. The Ugandans started to see Elder Cunningham as a prophet after his sermons that incorporated stories from The Matrix and Star Wars. In the end of the play, the Ugandans clarify that they knew that the stories were just a metaphor. It was like some limp disclaimer that was meant to get Parker and Stone off the hook, even though it was completely contrary to what was put forward during the 2.5 hours preceding it. So, instead of holding a mirror up to society, they lathered the Africans with religious and technological ignorance, medical practice that resembles the Dark Ages. They are hypersexualized, genitalia focused with 3-foot codpieces, and the whole thing plays on the time-tested white savior narrative. Audiences are laughing with the Mormons because, like it or not, we identify with the Mormon characters on many different levels, and the Mormons are laughing all the way to the bank. Yet, audiences are laughing at the Ugandans, but the Ugandans aren't laughing. Check this out. In 2005, Parker and Stone was awarded the Peabody for their work on Southpark, work that pushes viewers to confront broader issues such as racism, war, mob mentality, consumerism, and religious fanaticism. But in the Book of Mormon, the only issue of racism we were forced to confront is the nature of the play itself. War was brushed over. By laying out the cues for laughter and ridicule of Ugandans, they incite a mob mentality towards destructive stereotypes of minorities. It rested on Western mainstream popular culture being sufficient in reigniting the Ugandans' understanding of love and togetherness, and religious fanaticism was so adoringly portrayed that it increased membership into the Mormon Church. So, this play is demonstrated a failure in which they were once lauded. So what I wonder is if you think that the show would survive if it was set in another country. Playing into our prejudices with a country most people only know by name and vague reputation allows us to laugh at their misfortune. The play just taps into our collective unconscious bias, masked it in some of the best music I've heard, and hit us with jokes timed with the accuracy of a ninja. And they've pulled the wool over our eyes. Now, the music in this play is shit hot. Like, music you wanna fuck. Given that the dude that worked on Frozen and Avenue Q composed the music for this play, the music was always going to be an element that overshadowed everything else. Had the music not hit home so hard, I do believe that there would be more space for critical analysis. I'm not saying that you can't enjoy elements of the musical, but turning a blind eye to the majority of the play that reinforces the negative racial stereotyping is damaging, as it normalizes the unconscious racial biases that we all carry and reinforces the status quo of white dominance. A lot of the music is exceptionally well composed, and some of the satire works really well. It hits all the beats and has all the qualities of a good musical, and true to a Parker and Stone production, it takes the piss out of everyone in reach. Songs like Hello, Turn It Off, All American Prophet, and Baptize Me get a special mention because they're just fucking awesome. And if for whatever reason you haven't seen the play and you don't want to spend any money on it, YouTube those songs. So, in summary, following in the proud tradition of racist American theatre, the Book of Mormon does not fail to disappoint. From the Virginia minstrels of 1843 to The Lion King, the white, middle-aged dominated patrons of the theatre aren't paying the high ticket prices to have their expectations subverted. This is a place where traditions are reinforced and change is slow. And as long as people are still paying, casual racism in the theatre isn't likely to change anytime soon. And the Book of Mormon is here to stay. Yeah, I think I'm done. I'm done. Let's just try and get on with our lives, eh? I'm Caleb. This has been Door Number C, and join me next time for another episode on stuff. Bye-bye.